page 59. Tagore's view of India's history and his understanding of what he thought was at the very core of Indian civilization was presented in a cluster of essays. In these, he argued that in spite of the presence of many people and many cultures over the ages in India, there had been a unifying force at work. The differences had not been ironed out, but had been fused. In one essay he wrote, quote opens, Bharatvarsha has attempted the bonding of dissimilars. Where there is genuine difference, it is possible to accommodate it in its appropriate place and thereby bring it within the unity. You cannot legislate unity into existence. Unquote. The characteristic feature of Indian civilization has been the quest to find unity amidst a plurality of cultures. Reiterating the point, he wrote, quote opens, India has always sought one thing only, to establish unity in diversity, to direct many paths towards the same goal, to perceive the one among the many, indubitably and profoundly, to secure the intrinsic affinity without destroying. Page 60. External differences. Unquote. Footnote 61. Footnote 61. Both quotations are from Bharatvarshir Itihash 1902, cited in Sabyasachi Bhattacharya, Tagore's view of history, the Cambridge Companion to Tagore, pages 271 to 72. Back to text. He contrasted this with the West's attempts to obliterate differences through imperialist domination. Writing on the reconciliation of opposites, which he considered to be the essence of India's history and culture, Tagore in another essay noted, quote opens, where the harmony between the component differences has been organically effected, their beauty has blossomed. So long as it remains wanting, there is no end to deformities. Unquote. Tagore admitted that the search of harmony had not been perfect and without barriers. This quest for unity was not confined only to elites and upper castes. Tagore wrote that in one era of Indian history, quote opens, ... the message of the spiritual freedom and unity of man mainly sprang from the obscure strata of the community where belonged the castes that were despised. Though it has to be admitted that in the medieval age the Brahmin Ramananda was the first to give voice to the cry of unity, which is India's own, and in consequence lost his honored privileges as a Brahmin guru. Yet it is nonetheless true that most of our great saints of that time who took up this cry in their life and teaching and songs came from the lower classes, page 61. One of them being a Mohammedan weaver, one a cobbler, and several coming from ranks of society whose touch would pollute the drinking water of the respectable section of Hindus. Unquote. This was an ancient quest to seek, quote opens, goodness, in the truth of perfect union. Unquote. Tagore's prayer for India was taken from a verse of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Quote opens, He who is one, who is above all color distinctions, who dispenses the inherent needs of men of all colors, who comprehends all things from their beginning to the end, let him unite us to one another with the wisdom, which is the wisdom of goodness. Stop unquote, footnote 62. Footnote 62, all quotations in this paragraph are from Tagore's essay, A Vision of India's History, which was a revised English rendering of a Bengali essay, Bharatbharshir Itihasher Dhara, written in 1912. The English version came out in 1923. See thus The English Writings of Tagore, Volume 3, 1994. The essay is reprinted in Mukharjee, The Best of Tagore, pages 519, 521, and 524. Back to text. Many of the ideas presented above from Tagore's writings around 1910 and 1912, exactly the period when he composed Jana Gana Mana, are reflected in the song. The diversity and plurality of India in terms of varied population, in terms of geography and regional variations, in terms of the different faiths and cultures of the people who inhabit the space called Bharat. Beneath this surface diversity, there has always worked the force, page 62, of unity. In this song, Tagore identified this force as the dispenser of India's destiny, Bharata Bhagya Vidhata, around whose throne all, irrespective of their differences, gathered to weave the necklace of love. To borrow from Gora's plea to Parish Babu, this was the God of India who bequeathed the mantra of unity and harmony. Tagore saw Bharat as a civilizational site to which many had come to, quote, merge and to be merged, unquote, stop. This is why for him India was a pilgrimage, a site to come to with heads bowed and, quote, bound in humility, unquote, stop. Bharat was not a place for the display of arrogance. Unity was anchored in compassion. This is why Tagore loved India. I love India, he wrote, not because I cultivate the idolatry of geography, not because I have had the chance to be born in her soil, but because she has saved, through tumultuous ages, the living words that have issued from the illuminated consciousness of her great sons. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Brahma is truth, Brahma is wisdom, Brahma is infinite. Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. Peace is Brahma, goodness is in Brahma, and the unity of all beings. Stop, unquote, footnote 63. Footnote 63, EBIT, page 524. Back to text. Jana Gana Mana celebrates this unity and the maker of this unity, dash, quote opens, thou bringest the hearts of all peoples into the harmony of one life, stop, unquote. Page 63. In the poem Pilgrimage to India, there is the admission that the promise of unity is not complete, dash, quote opens. The sacred pitcher yet awaits, slash, its holy water, unquote, stop. The incompleteness contains the responsibility to forge ahead. This idea of a future is reflected in Jana Gana Mana, albeit in a slightly different way, colon, quote opens. The night dawns, the sun rises in the east, dot, 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 India wakes up, stop, unquote. There could, of course, be a literal reading of the line, quote opens, the sun rises in the east, unquote. It does every day with regularity, but perhaps Tagore is suggesting something transcending the diurnal. Was he suggesting that an India just waking up was the site of an entirely new kind of civilization? One draws courage to even frame such a question from Tagore's essay, Crisis in Civilization, written in Bengali in April 1941, 4 months before his death, when civilization as it had existed had shriveled through violence, death, and devastation. Towards the end of the essay, Tagore wrote, quote opens, "As I look around, I see the crumbling ruins of a proud civilization strewn like a vast heap of futility. And yet I shall not commit the grievous sin of losing faith in man. I would rather look forward to the opening of a new chapter in his history after the cataclysm is over and the atmosphere rendered clean with the spirit of service and sacrifice. Perhaps that dawn will come." Page 64. "From this horizon, from the east, E capital, where the sun rises." Stop, unquote, footnote 64. The idea of a dawn from, quote, the horizon, comma, from the east, unquote, was already there in embryo in the Song of India, Jana Gana Mana. Stop. Footnote 64. The text of this address is available, amongst other places, in Mukharjee, The Best of Tagore, pages 643 to 49. Back to text. Text continued in next file.